And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Weighing In Podcast, the midweek.
Psych! Big John is gone, baby. Guess what happened? He decided that it would be a great idea to dig up his driveway on his own with some helpers, of course. But just like John, every time he does everything on his own, like I've said before, climb trees, hornet's nest, whatever else you want to get his hands dirty into, guess what happens? Something goes wrong. And just like it's predictable, it happened again. He decided to dig up his Wi-Fi wire. And that thing broke and snapped, and now he has no Wi-Fi at his house. So we want to thank Big John for that, because now you're stuck with this guy right here. Just me, Podcast Dave, and a bunch of just crazy action that we're going to talk about today. Got a little bit of news. We'll talk about the fight. We are dropping this before the Wilder and Fury fight because I'm going to make sure that I sit down and watch that. John and I will hopefully do it together on Monday or Tuesday, and we will talk about that fight on those days. And it's going to be a great fight tonight, but I want to sit and actually enjoy watching that fight instead of worrying about having to rush to come back and get the filming in tonight. So the UFC was earlier tonight. Dave, did you watch any of it? You did not.
I just watched the main event.
The main event. Okay, well, you know what? Let's just jump right in the main event. I'm going to get a little bit of a casual's, opinion in this situation. Talk to me, Dave. What did you see from Dern? What did you see from Rodriguez?
Well, so my biggest beef was that Mackenzie Dern said she was coming in here. Not only was she going to finish the fight, but she was going to have a better performance than Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos from last week. That's what she said, and I don't know if that was the case.
I think they were both equal. I think both showings were not great, but I thought they were still. They're both hard fought fights, and that's the thing. So when Dave talks from a WWE perspective. So I want you guys to understand that. So we have a lot of other people like Dave, okay, that are fans of WWE and fans of the pro wrestling that also do kind of cover some media, and they have like this fair weather fan perspective that they like to put out. So, I like to take little jabs at people if you guys haven't figured it out yet, but this is going to be a fun show, guys. Overall, Mackenzie Dern, she showed a lot that I was very impressed with. But the thing that she didn't show was her wrestling. And the wrestling aspect is really what cost her. She was only able to get to the clinch area. And when she was able to get there, she didn't really have a whole lot of ways to get the fight to the ground. The original way, she tried to get the fight to the ground by trying to hit a throw. She ended up falling backwards. She's phenomenal once she hits the ground. But I think if you know you're that good, you need to start throwing caution to the wind. Why didn't we see like an Imanari roll? Why didn't we see anytime you got to press to the fence, just drop down on an ankle lock, something like that? There comes a time, I think, in any fight when you're down, when you know you're down, your coaches are telling you you're down, you need that last round, you need a finish. Those are the situations you need to throw caution to the wind. There's been fights in the past that I've had where I've actually regretted not throwing caution to the wind, because when I started to throw caution to the wind, I had a little bit more success. And I'll give you guys, if you guys want to go back and watch that fight, was the Clay Guida fight. I took that fight against him. I was a little bit on short notice, but I was very just unprepared for him. Not expecting the tenacity and just the aggression, and as well as his wrestling being as good as it was. But I kept, every time I getting taken down, I would just pull the guard and just hang out there, just thinking I could get a submission. Well, as the fight went on and got sweaty and it was less and less likely, I eventually, finally in the fifth round, was able to kind of I threw me, and my coach is yelling at me, just turn your back. Just give the position up to get back up to your feet. And in the fifth round, I did that. There was a little bit more of success to get back up to your feet. That's kind of the position that she's in. When you know you're leaps and bounds above somebody on the ground, there's really no concern. You don't need to chase after that person. I know he's not coming off of he's not coming off of a win, but is Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is someone who uses the long, lanky, head kicks, kind of the side kicks, the long jabs, and things like that to kind of keep you at bay. Another top jiu-jitsu guy that used to do that very well was Nino Schembri. Is that back in the Pride days, he would just throw head kicks. because he knew that if you caught the leg, that you would probably fall down on top of him, and he was okay with that because he would pull you into guard and start to attack. She is leaps abound. Mackenzie Dern is leaps and bounds above everybody else on the ground. She is phenomenal. There's no doubt about that. But she lacks the wrestling. And I was listening to Paul Felder, who does a phenomenal job behind the mic, by the way. And I've said this. I think someone was criticizing him a couple weeks ago. I think it was Marvin Vittori. And I just jumped in. I was like, hey, man, Paul, you fucking do a phenomenal job. You're absolutely amazing behind the mic. I don't know if there's anybody, I mean, obviously I'm going to lean towards DC, but outside of DC, I don't know if there's anybody behind that mic that does a better job than him. I mean, John Anik does a separate job. People don't understand what John Anik does is special, and I feel that way about all of the play-by-play fighter, play-by-play callers. They are just, it's impressive what they can do. They got to do the commercials. They weave through the traffic. They've got the background search. They do everything. They're phenomenal. All of them. I mean, you got Morrow, you've got Anik, Sean Grandy. There's a lot of top level ones that are out there doing it, and they're doing a great job. But Paul Felder behind the mic is absolutely amazing. And when I sit and watch a fight and I can hear Paul Felder's voice, it kind of soothes me and calms me down and lets me know, like, I'm getting the right knowledge. And so when I'm listening to him say, like, she needs to do whatever she can to get in, not just in terms of whatever she can to get in, but to take her coach's advice. Punch your way in, try the one jab, and then do a double punch to come back in on the second time, get to the clinch. Those type of things I love hearing from a good commentator, and he did a phenomenal job tonight, and it was great to watch, especially that whole main card. He was on point with a lot of things. And so great job, Paul. But with Mackenzie Dern, when you're that good, you need to start just throwing caution to the wind at times, not just on your striking, because she was putting her head down, Dave, and she was like just throwing the punch. And majority of the time, who Rodriguez is taller than her, she was swinging over the top of her, and Rodriguez was just dipping her head and able to come out on the backside. And I was thinking to myself, she's a lot taller, not just a little bit taller. She's a lot taller than Mackenzie, and Mackenzie was just winging it, putting her head down. There was a moment in the fight, I want to say it was in the 4th round, where she threw the overhand right and missed, and she got spun around, and Rodriguez was behind her. And I was thinking Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey all over again. And then in that moment, you could see Rodriguez touch her with her hands. Both hands were on Mackenzie Dern. And all she had to do was let the head kick go, I believe, on the left side. And if she turned right into that. It was almost like, I'm going to pick on myself here a little bit too. It was almost the Yves Edwards, Josh Thompson knockout all over again. It was that, if that's pretty much exactly kind of what happened with Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm. It was like one of those moments you're thinking to yourself, oh shit, don't do that. So that's what was going through my mind. Overall though, Mackenzie Dern showed that she needs to work on her wrestling. She needs to work on closing that distance and possibly taking a page out of other fighters' books, like the Ryan Hall, the Nino Schembri, where you're throwing heavy head kicks, but you're standing your ground. Those guys would stand right in the middle of the ring or the cage. Ryan moves a little bit. Ryan Hall moves around a little bit more. And then like throws the side kicks and the head kicks. But she needs to probably take a page out of that book and make people come to them. So when they step in, it's easier for them to get easier for her to get into the body lock, easier for her to get into that clinch, that over under, or possibly even just snatch the leg. She also needs, I think, to work a little bit on catching kicks, because there was moments there where she was getting kicked to the body and she could have caught the kicks and got the takedown that way. I think she had a moment in the beginning of the 5th round. She caught the kick and kind of stepped behind the knee and then try to cross body her with the forearm, and she wasn't able to get her fully down because she was so tired. I don't think people understand how difficult and how exhausting it is after that second round that Mackenzie Dern had of just being on top. She was also fighting off a submission by Rodriguez, which was very impressive. Not that it was close, but it was enough to frustrate Mackenzie because she knew she only had a certain amount of time to do work on the top. So in those scenarios, in those situations, Mackenzie Dern had the top position, but she didn't do as much as she could have in forcing the attack and forcing the submission attack and the finish. I think had she spent more time trying to really slowly and methodically get to that submission, which I shouldn't be saying too much because she's so damn good on the ground, but I felt like there was moments where she could have went for the arm bar where Rodriguez's arms were extended and she didn't do it. She decided to go back to neutral position, like basically the mount position, or stay on the back, or she decided to start hammer fisting from the top, which she has heavy strikes, is what Rodriguez said at the end in the interview. Overall, she did a great job in terms of she took a lot of abuse. She's tougher than nails. That's one thing. Two is the fight there was moments in there where she could have had more success had she listened to Perillo a little bit more. And then in the third way is that when she did get to that top position, she should have spent a little bit more time methodically and slowly making Rodriguez work to get out of those positions, instead of she got a little careless in terms of she spent a lot of time fighting to keep the top position or fighting to keep the back, instead of just controlling and keeping the back and then trying to set up the submission as best she can. I look at a lot of people like a BJ Penn. He gets on your back and he doesn't just like start attacking real fast. What he does is he slowly starts trying to trap your arm between his legs, when he's on your back, and then he starts trying to like get under the chin. He starts changing hands. There's different ways of doing it. Obviously, she knows all the ways of doing it. But she still has that young fighter in her where she makes a lot of mistakes still, especially on the feet, but she's gotten a lot better. Big John and I were talking about this last week. She's gotten a lot better on the feet than when she first started in the UFC, but she's learning on the fly. That's the one thing I got to tip my hat to her. She's really learning on the fly when it comes to, she got into the UFC and she relatively didn't know anything. I don't think she knew anything on the feet. She just came in, relied on her jiu-jitsu, and that's what's got her to where she is now. So overall, I think a tough, gritty performance by her, but she's got a long ways to go. But it was, I think it was good for her to go a hard 5 rounds, and she had to suck it up. She got through it. But look, let's not take away from Rodriguez and what she did. Let me explain to you what she did. She did a lot of great things. I know I just ranted a little bit on Mackenzie Dern, but Dave, what was your takeaway from Marina Rodriguez?
I don't really have a takeaway. I didn't enjoy. I came in, obviously just watched the main event, and I came in with the expectation Mackenzie Dern was just gonna finish that fight, but I was kind of half-assed watching it, to be honest.
No, I got you. Okay, I understand it. I get it. You kind of half-assed a lot of things. I get it. No. So overall, Marina Rodriguez, she did a phenomenal job keeping the distance, kept with the long striking, didn't overcommit more than 3 punches in a row, except for when she landed the first 2 or she landed the second and the third. That's just fight IQ. John and I have always talked about fight IQ. You're going to find a lot of people start to use those terms in terms of you're really showing what inside the cage and how you control your opponent and where they go. And so I will also talk about fight IQ in the what's her name? Agapova fight. So I'll also talk about the fight IQ in that fight as well. But in this fight, Marina Rodriguez had a lot of great exchanges. She didn't overcommit on things. She stayed long. And what I really liked a lot was as she started seeing Mackenzie get tired after the second round, in the third, fourth, and fifth, she didn't forget about the body. She started touching the body with the jab. She started touching it with the right hand. She started push kicking the body as well. And the last thing that I liked the most, though, was anytime Mackenzie started to kind of come in a little bit and she was kind of rushing in, she would finally started using that little quad kick, which everyone knows. John and I just talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't like that little, what is it called? That little side kick to the quad. I don't like that because sometimes it goes to the knee. But what she was doing today was very impressive. It was working. It was effective. And as much as the conversation that we've had about it, I would like it more to be, I wouldn't say legal. It's hard for me to say illegal, but it has to be, I think, above the knee. But how do you regulate that if they step in? We can go off on a tangent on that. That's separate issue, separate conversation. But that little quad kick or I don't even know I forgot what it was called. Anyways, the side kick to the thigh. That was beautifully done by her. That was keeping Mackenzie at bay. And the more of those that she took, it takes away that explosiveness for Mackenzie to close the distance and come in. It also gives her something else to think about. Like if I jump in or I run in too much and she hits me with that, she's going to stuff me right in my place, potentially hurt my knee. Then I'll be out for longer. There was a lot of things, I think that Mackenzie Dern was having to deal with. The long range striking, the speed, the fact that she wasn't really throwing more than 2 and 3, unless she had landed the 2 and the 3. And then she was circling out, trying to keep her back off the fence. She did a great job of getting her underhooks. She got taken down on the second, but man, what a dog. She was in some crappy positions, in a bunch of exchanges. But like I said, when I was talking about Mackenzie Dern, she had threatened that side. And it wasn't really a side choke. It was more of like an anaconda. And when she did that, though, is when she was doing that, what that did, because that locked up Mackenzie Dern for probably, I'd say, a good minute, maybe even longer, maybe a little less. It was somewhere in that minute range. She had locked her up for quite a while. Well, that's a minute or whatever of not taking any damage. And that's a minute of not having to survive with Mackenzie Dern on top of you, trying to chase arms, trying to get to your back, get to your neck, all those situations. That was a whole minute just wasted away with her with her on the bottom position, but threatening a submission. Mackenzie Dern fought out of there, but you could tell Mackenzie was getting frustrated because she was doing whatever she could, punching the stomach, trying to go knee on belly. She tried to go north-south. She was struggling to get out of those positions and out of that one position there. And she could just tell that the time was wasting away. And in that situation, like I was saying with Mackenzie Dern, is that when she got to those top positions, she should have been more patient, realizing that there was nothing there. She was panicking to get out of there. She should have just really kind of waited out and just kept. Those are the situations I think fighters sometimes should start talking to their opponent. Like, yeah, it's not close. You're wasting your energy. Your arms are going to blow up. Like, those type of things start playing with the other fighter mentally. Like, yeah, you think you're going to submit me? I'm Mackenzie Dern. Like, she could have said things like that. Like, you're not even close. And that would have put Marina Rodriguez in that mindset of, man, if I don't get this, or my arm's going to feel the same in the third round. Like, there's a lot of questions to be answered if Mackenzie started talking to her. But overall, Marina Rodriguez did a phenomenal job. She was sticking and moving, keeping her back off the fence, using that push kick up the middle, using the long range punches to the body as well. Those were nice. She had a couple really nice body shots, and that little quad kick was amazing. And so those type of things, I think, is really catapulted her. I think once after the second round, she knew she had survived, and Mackenzie wasn't too eager to get in the takedown right off the bat at the beginning of the third. She got her win back, and she just started touching Mackenzie Dern, and Mackenzie had no answer. There was really only one double leg takedown attempt. The rest of it was all just trying to punch to the clinch, recklessly with her head down, reaching for the head. And that's a remedy. That's something she needs to remedy as soon as possible. Because when she gets into those, she's already in the top 4, but I'm saying when she gets to that number 2, number 3 of the champ, you can't have those kind of weaknesses when you get there. You might be so damn good on the ground, but you can't afford to have those kind of weaknesses getting to the champ. And so the champ is on an all-time high in terms of confidence. They're the champ. They're feeling everything. Now, sure, maybe they're concerned about your jiu-jitsu, but they also have studied you enough coming up that they know they can see and probably learn to exploit your weaknesses and the amount of time it's going to take you to get to them. And so overall, though, like, I thought it was a good fight. It wasn't a great fight, but last week's fight wasn't great either, but it was still a good fight. All the fighters fought tough. Mackenzie fought tough. Marina Rodriguez fought tough. You're going to see probably just a swap in position. I think you're going to see Marina Rodriguez jump up to number 4, and you're going to see Mackenzie Dern drop down to number 5. They have 2 number 4s. I don't know why.
Well, she should be 5, right? Because
yeah,
that's just I think a mistake.
Yeah, they just said that she was ranked 4. I mean, like, does she have to be 5, or would the Yan girl? I don't know how to say it. Zhao Nan. Zhao Nan.
She's
didn't she just lose? Zhao Nan just lost to somebody, I thought. Oh, maybe she didn't.
Was it Carla Esparza? Yeah, it was Carla Esparza.
Yeah, it was Carla Esparza. Yeah. I mean, but Carla's number 1, number
3.
2, somewhere in there, I believe.
She's 3.
Number 3. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Carla probably get the next title shot after Wei Li Zhang and Rose Namajunas. So that'll be good. But overall, fight was I thought it was a good fight. It wasn't a great fight. Hard fought fight for Mackenzie Dern. I think she learned a lot in a 5-round fight where it went the distance, where she took a lot of shots. She realized how tough she is. She knows what it's like now to be exhausted in there going into the championship rounds. and what it's like to not be able to control the tempo of the fight, not being able to control what happens in the fight. So she's gonna go back to the drawing board. She'll make another run. I mean, how old is Mackenzie Dern?
I think
she's young.
32, I think it was.
Oh, she's 32?
Oh, sorry, 28.
Oh, she's 28. I thought she was like, I thought she was 30, to be honest, 29, 30. So she's 28. Good stuff. You know, she looked like she was in phenomenal shape. But just trying to pressure, trying to get the takedown. When you know you don't have a lot of takedowns, like even that takedown she got, she went for the throw. She didn't get it. She just pulled her down on top of her and went right to attacking the leg lock. Not really attacking the leg lock, but using that leg lock kind of X guard position to like sweep to get to the top. It was nicely done. She had thrown the leg over to the hip, hit that. She'd put the reverse heel hook position on the leg. She basically just tucked the foot back underneath her and sat back up on top of her. Nicely done. It was beautiful work. Okay, Randy Brown and Jared Gooden. Good fight. I thought it should have went the way it went. I don't know. There was I think it was Anik. Anik was saying, or I don't know who was saying. I think it was Anik was saying that he thought it was 1-1 going into the third. Maybe even Paul said that. But either way, there was no way. I thought Randy Brown won the first. He definitely won the second. It was a good fight up until, it was competitive. Here's the thing. All that Gooden had to do was like land a couple more shots. He had to be a little bit more active in landing the cleaner, harder shots. I had it 30-27. I don't know what judge. I think one of the judge gave it to Gooden, and I was thinking to myself that should have never have happened. That Randy Brown won he won all the fight. He won the whole fight. I thought he won all 3 rounds. Overall, though, good fight. Long, lanky, like I like to say. He was tall, long, and lanky, and he utilizes every single bit of that. Let's talk about the toughness, though, of Randy Brown. Dislocates his toe, his big toe, after push kicking Gooden in the face. Like he does the offense. He dislocates his own toe. That's like some shit that would happen to me doing it to Dave. Like granite chin that Dave's got. It just like probably just break my toe, pop it right out. But overall, it was a good performance by Randy Brown. Stayed long. I don't know how he absorbed so many calf kicks. The calf kicks were on point by Gooden. I thought he should have kind of went more to them earlier in the fight because he was having success early in the fight, and he kind of got away from him a little bit and started kicking the upper leg, and then he started kicking the inside leg. And I know Brown was switching stance, but every time he got Randy Brown going backwards, he should have been trying to tattoo that leg. But overall, one of the best. It was one of the nicest, cleanest performances. I think is he at 185? Randy Brown, he's 185. I believe at 180. He's not in the rankings.
Oops. What was
but
that?
I think him and Kevin Holland would be a good fight. Randy Brown and Kevin Holland would be a good fight.
Like...
Oh, 170. Okay. Oh, that's why they were talking about how big he was or how tall he was for the weight class. I was like, because Jared looks small. So Jared Gooden, and then you got Randy Brown, and but good fight, man. Good fight overall. Dealing with the toe, and you could tell he just kept adjusting it. Like Paul Felder was like, he keeps stepping on it, almost like trying to put it back into place. Or just trying to, like, sometimes you step on it. Sometimes you like put pressure on it to ease the pain too for a second. I mean, he had some good stuff, was doing a lot of great things. He also had success with that little front thigh kick, the oblique kick. There's the word I was looking for.
I was trying to think of it as well.
The oblique kick. Dave, pay attention, buddy. Talk to me, Goose. You got to tell me these things.
I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember. I was like, I had a word in my head. I was thinking like, I don't know.
There's not much in there, bro. No, but it was a nice oblique kick, man. It was he also was using the oblique kick to kind of keep Gooden away because Gooden's got power in his hands and was utilizing that calf kick as well. So every time he went to hit that calf kick, he would try to throw that little oblique kick, and that was nice. He was doing some good stuff, very nice stuff. Good at chaining things together. Good at putting the combination together. Sometimes he'd go push kick, then he'd come back with the hands. Sometimes he'd go hands, and he'd come back to the oblique kick. He did a lot of good stuff. So Randy Brown, great job, great win. Nicolau versus Elliott. Good fight, hard fought fight, and I really believe, this is what I was talking about with Paul Felder. I really believe Paul Felder called it. Is the last 2.5 minutes of the third round, he decided to sit on the bottom and hold that lockdown position. He had locked basically like a rubber guard position. They call it like a lockdown, or not a lockdown. They call it something control. Mission control. They call it mission control. It's kind of a very similar position to mission control, where he hooked in between the leg, almost like trying to attack omoplata, but then locked his legs and was just holding him there, hoping that I think the ref was going to stand him up. But at the end of a 3-round fight with 2.5 minutes left, he just took you down. You don't have a minute and a half to spare, hoping that the ref's going to stand you up. So that was wasted time. He should have been a lot busier. Sweep, submit, get up, or submit, sweep, get up. You've got to be attacking the submission. If you don't get it, go right from that submission to your sweep. And if you don't get that, then you just kick them back and get up. And then I feel the same way about going submission first. If you don't get the submission, go sweep, then go sweep right after that. If you don't get that, go submission. They're interchangeable. And so if you do those things, I think you'll have a better chance of getting up. He had just locked him down, held him there with 2.5 minutes left. And he hadn't really won the first 2.5 minutes either. It was a close 2.5 minutes. So when he lost the takedown and then just basically was on, Nicolau was on top for that amount of time, it kind of let the judges know, like, hey, he's either tired or he just doesn't have the answer to get back up to his feet. And that's not something that you want to see from Elliott. Like, that's not something I would normally see from Elliott. I'm surprised. He should have came with that like last-ditch effort type mentality of getting back up to his feet. Because like I said, though, too, with Mackenzie Dern, there comes a time in the fight, which for Elliott was the last 2.5 minutes. You've got to give your back. You've got to just stand up. You've got to go to the half guard position. You can't just hang out there in that position. Whereas Mackenzie Dern was stuck on the feet, but there was never an attempt to like Imanari roll or trying to like shoot on the single leg and then try to lift or punch into the clinch and then dropping down on a double or dropping down on a single and trying to pull her away from the fence. There was never those moments for either one of them. So eventually that ended up costing them the fight. And Tim Elliott is a better fighter than that. He's a more knowledgeable fighter than Mackenzie Dern when it comes to that portion of the fight IQ. He should have that in his bag. He should have known, like, look, I'm going to lose this fight if I don't get this thing, if I don't get back to my feet and at least start touching him with my hands or get a takedown on him to equal this thing out. And that it never came about. And so I think that was a hard part. It wasn't a hard, it was easier for the judges to make that decision. And so it was, I thought Nicolau looked good. I had him losing the first round. I think I had him winning the second, and he started coming on. And then he started coming on the second. He had a great second round, I believe it was. And then the third round, that little takedown at the 2.5 minute mark really secured him the fight because Tim Elliott kind of pretty much gave it away. Agapova versus Mazo. It was good. With Agapova, she's long and lanky, but then Mazo is longer and lankier than her. But she was throwing her stuff with power. What she needs to, and I'm going to do it, I'm really criticizing, but Agapova needs to, for her to get to that next level of competition, she's going to need to tighten up her striking a little bit. Her right hook is real kind of loopy, and the whole night she was circling right into that power of Mazo. So what she needs to do is make sure that she mixes it up. I've never been someone that's always been committed to saying, hey, I need to make sure my right foot is on the outside, of the outside of my opponent when you're someone's conventional and someone's a southpaw. I mix it up. So like, I'm going to use Nate Diaz as an example. Is sure, I want to keep my foot on the outside. But if you guys go back and watch the fight, I kept switching stances and I kept switching directions as well. So I would switch my stance and I would circle to the right, and then I'd switch my stance back and then I'd circle to the left. And I would try to circle away from his power punch. Or if I was in my conventional, I'd circle, into his power punch. But I also had a higher hand up on that side for defense. And I had already set up some combinations that I was going to throw from that position. And so with Agapova, she was kind of throwing the same combinations, which is fine because they were landing. She was having success, so why change it up? Keep going to the well. Mazo didn't really have an answer for it. And if I was Mazo's corner, though, what they should have been telling her was, look, she's circling towards your power hand. And if anyone's circling towards your power hand, you got to make them regret going that way. So we used to do this drill inside the, and we did it in a ring, not in a cage at AKA, is we had a coach that would circle towards your power hand. And what you would do is you would throw the right hand or you would throw the head kick on that side. But right after you threw that, you would come back with like a left hook and a straight right after that. You want to stop their momentum from them going to your power hand, make them stop in place. So if you throw the head kick on that side, they stop to block. then you come right back with the straight right. What that does, that puts them right where you want them to be after you throw your head kick. So your head kick is not hard. You throw the head kick, boom, you stop the momentum, you get them to stop right in front of you, throw the straight right and the left hook, and maybe finish back up with the head kick again or a body kick on that side when you're going against conventional versus southpaw. And in this scenario, Mazo wasn't really doing anything. She just kept trying to walk after her and throw straight punches. She threw a couple loopy ones, but they weren't there. You know, you could just tell that didn't have the power that Agapova had. Agapova was throwing with a little bit more speed as well. I thought there was moments where Mazo could have had success, but she wasn't pushing the pace fast enough. Also, too, why not get into, like, this is another thing with Paul Felder. He said, you got to have to change it up. You got to get in there. You got to get in there and mix it up. Like, in terms of, don't just keep trying to stand. You're getting pieced up. And I've always said this about it. Like, if fight IQ is this, make those adjustments. If you're losing on the fight, you've got to make the adjustment. Not saying that you need to get the takedown. You don't need to force the takedown. Don't make yourself so tired like you did with, like Mackenzie Dern did, where she made herself so tired trying to get the takedown and put more pressure on her to get it that she got exhausted and wasn't able to fight the rest of the fight, really. She was just labored after that whole thing. But you go out there, you shoot it on the double legs, you press her to the fence, and then you just hang out there on her. If she gets away, she gets away. Because they were more equal on the feet than Dern and Rodriguez. So Mazo and Agapova, they were very equal, I believe, on the feet. Agapova had more power, was a little bit faster, and she was with a little bit more tenacity, like throwing her combinations. Mazo started not having that success when she started getting pieced up. So now if you start mixing in the takedowns, if you start making her think that I'm going to shoot, that split second of hesitation will make a huge difference on whether she gets gets off or not. So if Agapova is hesitant for, say, a split second or maybe even a full second, then Mazo's able to land a combination or potentially get the takedown. So either way, it's a success. So you've got to, like, in terms of fight IQ, the corner of Mazo should have been saying, like, let's mix this up a little bit. Let's punch our way into the clinch, press her to the fence, maybe drop down on the single leg or the double leg. And if we can't get it, come right back up to the body lock if it's not there. And there was never a moment in there where she was doing that. And she had like one or two opportunities where she pressed to the clinch, but then she didn't really have a lot of success there. One time she got put in a guillotine. Didn't seem like it was that tight, but she was forced to hand fight out of there. She wasted quite a bit of time trying to get out of there. So it looked like she was losing even when they were in the clinch. And so she struggled the whole fight. There was never a moment where Maza was winning this fight. Agapova was winning that fight from the beginning to the end. So good performance by her. Good stuff. Paul Felder was on point tonight, like on a lot of the stuff that he was talking about. Great stuff. I normally don't listen to the commentary, but damn, it's hard not to when I know Paul Felder's calling the fights. And so I'm sitting there going, damn, this guy, he's so good. Like he breaks it down step by step. And I'm like, he's doing a phenomenal job. Chris Gutierrez, it was a close. I thought it was close, but I thought Gutierrez was winning. I don't see how it was a split though. I thought Gutierrez had definitely won unanimously, and so it was a good fight. He was just getting off first. He was blocking all the kicks. I don't know how you say his name, Caleres or whatever. He was having a hard time putting the combinations together with his hands and his kicks. Now, I know both of them are heavy kickers in terms of both of them kick a lot is what I mean. They both have heavy kicks as well, by the way. But both of them are heavy kickers. Both of them use a lot of their weapons are starting off with their kicks. So they kick first, then throw their combination, which a lot of people cannot do because they leave themselves open to be countered because their kicks are sometimes slow or sometimes they're lazy or sometimes they're not on point or sometimes they're telegraphed. So not a lot of people like to kick first. What they do is they like to throw the hands first, then throw the kick behind because people normally put their hands up to block their face. And when they do that, what that does, it opens up either the midsection or the legs to be kicked without being caught. And so that's a lot of people will like to do that. A lot of fighters would like to do that first. Is throw the hands first. I love to kick first and then throw the hands and then maybe finish with a kick, or you throw the hands, kick, and then come back with the hands. So they don't think you're done. Even if it's only like throw the jab, then throw the kick, come back, and then come back with a 3-piece. Hit them with the Masvidal, that kind of thing. So that type of stuff goes a long ways in dictating how the fight is fought. Because now you've got your opponent guessing on everything that happens. And so that's one of those situations where Gutierrez was on point tonight. He was touching him, and even when he felt like he was too close, something that like a lot of fighters have a hard time with, me included when I was fighting, it was hard for me to lunge in with an elbow. I had a hard time doing that. I felt like, okay, if I miss, I'm going to get countered. I just felt like the range was never there. I never really got that down. And he was on point. Gutierrez was on point. He was kind of shepherding he was parrying or shepherding the jab or the punch, and then coming in with the elbow, or he was slipping inside and throwing the elbow, which was just phenomenal. Great work, good stuff. I mean, like, he had a great fight overall. You know, like, I thought that main card was a pretty good night of fights. You know, in terms of the level of competition for each other, it was pretty equal. And what we saw was two talented fighters on both sides just getting after each other and just seeing kind of where they're at before they get into the rankings or where they're at in the rankings. And I thought it was a good night of fights. I thought the main card was good. You know, and they all fought their asses off. They all fought, and then some of them came up a little bit short, and some of them had some great performances. You know, but I think you know, who stole the night there was two. I thought Agapova stole the night, and I thought Marina Rodriguez stole the night. I thought she had a great performance. She looked fabulous, and good stuff, man. Good card. Overall, I thought it was a good card. Let's talk about mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in. If you guys use that little QR code right there, that will give you a little extra spending cash when you use the promo code weighing in at mybookie.ag. Also, with football coming to start, you've got the World Series coming in, the playoffs of baseball. I'm telling you right now, there's lots of ways to win money. Don't miss out on that at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code weighing in. Use that QR code right there. And what they're going to do is give you a little extra money because you used our promo code of weighing in. You guys, there's plenty of things to bet on. Basketball's coming back. Football's coming back. Football is back pretty much. And then you've also got hockey coming back around. I think they just started the season as well. I'm telling you right now, if you like to put a little bit money down here and there, try mybookie.ag, use the promo code weighing in, use that QR code for the bonus cash with the promo code weighing in.
All right, let's hop into this first piece around Patricio Pitbull. He has decided to vacate the belt at 155 so that he can focus on 145. He came out and said, starting today, I'm no longer the Bellator lightweight champion. Honor and family come first. When I first won the lightweight belt, it was just about revenge. It was still an honor, but it was the loss at 45. But with the loss at 45, I'm starting over. It's time for the lightweight division to move on and for Patricio to have his shot at the title. My focus is on AJ and him only. On November 5th, my brother will fight for the lightweight title against Peter Queally in Ireland and will bring the title to Brazil.
This is really, like, from the moment he won the title and he knocked out Michael Chandler, he was just saying, I'll relinquish that title once my brother gets a title shot. And there was banter back and forth that potentially the two of them would fight each other, which would have been great. You know, that straight up, what was that movie? Warrior. I think it was called Warrior. It was an MMA fight with, was it Dan Hardy? Dan Hardy was in it, I believe his name is. Yeah, it was Dan Hardy and someone else. It was a good little movie. Anyways, there was like two brothers that ended up fighting each other, I think in the finals of some tournament, I believe it was. But it was a movie I was supposed to be in. I think Anthony Johnson was in it. A couple other fighters were in it. But I was supposed to be in it. I was scripted for one of the main guys. One of the main guys that got knocked out. Slumped through the ropes. I was scripted for that. And then last minute, I had to pull out because Strikeforce had offered me a fight. And so I had taken the fight. I believe it was the third fight with Gilbert Melendez was the third fight. And so I just said, I'll take that fight over, doing the movie, which was good. I'm super glad. That was one of those moments where I was like, oh man, could have been a star.
In a way, you got to live it through your fight with Patricio, right? Because he did knock you out. So
yeah. Oh, just rubbing the salt in the wound there, huh, buddy? Big John's not. I said, you know what? Now that Big John is not here, I'm gonna just strictly blame it on him. He cannot defend himself. It was all John's fault. Oh man, but look, overall, I believe this is a great fight. I think Peter Queally and Patricio Pitbull, they've already fought. I had Patricio winning the fight up until the moment of the cut, and then he got cut. And the fact that the two of these guys, they're both good fighters. You know, Patricio got the power. Patricio got I feel like he's got the speed. Quilly's got the conditioning, the cardio, and he's got the output. He's somebody and he's also got the size. He is the enormous 155 pounder. He's tall, he's long, he's lanky, and he uses it. He's got a lot of movement and mobility. And I think you're going to see Patricio come out kicking like he did in the first fight. He's going to try to slow him down, try to get him to stand in front of him, and try to hit him with some big punches. But Peter Quilly will still be there. He will still be there in the second, still be in the third, you know. I mean, outside of getting clipped, you know, I think you're going to see Peter Quilly in that fight. It's going to be a great fight. I think the two of them now being pushed to the main event in Dublin, in Ireland, it's going to be absolutely amazing. If you guys have not watched or been to a fight there in Dublin, I'm telling you right now, man, if you guys haven't bought your tickets to that fight yet, you got the Jimmy Show against Patchy Mix also. That's going to be a great fight. James Gallagher, he's fighting Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix is nasty good on the ground. James Gallagher is pretty damn good on the ground himself. Patchy Mix is tall, long, and lanky, and when he gets to your back, he's just nothing but finishes. Every person that I've ever talked to about him training with, they're like, gosh, he's just difficult to deal with. I'm good friends with Jake Shields. Jake Shields has been like, hey, he's like, him and Jake have been training quite a bit together, and he's like, man, he's the real deal. I was like, yeah, I call his fights. I know he's the real deal, but he's like, no, he's leaps and bounds above a lot of people that I've trained with and grappled with, and he's phenomenal. And you know, since he's been there at Extreme Couture's, kind of, you know, training with Jake Shields and other guys that are in that area, I mean, I can't wait to see how much better he's gotten since his last fight. But Patricio, this is his moment, man. This is it. If you don't win it right now, I mean, I don't know if he's going to end up getting another title shot. So he's gonna have to make sure that he's got his conditioning on point, because he's had problems with his conditioning. Like, he's had problems in that later second round, third round, and those are 3-round fights. You get into that fourth and fifth, I know he's got the dog in him. There's no doubt. Like, when you talk about, that's what they're called, the Pitbull brothers, because they're dogs, man. They will stand and bang they'll stand and bang to the end of the bell, all the way till they go out on their shields. But the thing is, though, is you've got to fight smart in those moments. You got to have the conditioning to make sure you fight smart in those moments. And so I don't know if he's going to have that same type of output in the fourth and fifth. And I'm not trying to criticize him at all. He's phenomenal. I mean, he beat me, you know, and I tip my hat to him for that. But it's like, he has that little knock on his game, is that he does tend to slow down as the fight goes on, because almost every fighter that has huge knockout power, like the Pitbull brothers do, they generally tend to slow down. Patricio doesn't have as much of a slow down position, slow down gear as Patricio does. He tends to slow down more because he throws everything. He loads up and throws everything with power, whether it's a leg kick, whether it's a striking, whatever it is. He throws a lot of heat. So I think if he's in phenomenal shape, it's going to be a really hard fight for Peter Quilly. But Peter Quilly is a dog. He's someone that, like, if you go back and you watch the Ryan Scope fight, he was picking Ryan Scope apart in the first round. It was like target practice. Then Ryan Scope comes out in the second round right from the beginning, hits him with a combination, then finishes it with a head kick, drops Peter Quilly. Peter Quilly takes a beating for probably, I'd say, a good minute, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but then gets back to his feet and just wrecks Ryan Scope. Just touches him to the body, touches him to the head, just puts it on him. Now that's a dog. That's somebody like Patricio. The two of them are just dogs. And so that's what makes this fight so fun. What's next?
All right, next topic. Have you seen all these former and current MMA fighters going into pro wrestling? And for the most part, it seems to be like they're going to AEW right now, probably because they're getting offered good paydays. But Masvidal was one of them, and it looks like Junior Dos Santos, off the back of Masvidal being there, is going to go there and stay there. He's 37 years old. He was there a few weeks ago with Masvidal, with Paige Van Zandt in Austin, a bunch of other people that I recognize from the MMA scene, and it looks like he's going to pro wrestling.
Bro, this is your world, bro. I have no idea about this world. I did see the short clip, though, of Masvidal throwing they call it the Ben Askren knee. Mm-hmm. You know, so I saw him throwing that. Who did he do that to?
He did it to Chris Jericho, who is, you know, one of the biggest guys in the whole entire sport. But Dos Santos has never really been known to be like a talker or be like any of that, right? So it's kind of like weird.
No, but he's not known for that. But he's always been known as being one of the more athletic heavyweights in the MMA game. You know, I mean, for such a big guy, he's a big guy, but he's pretty damn athletic. I mean, if you look at the history of the fights that he's had, I mean, Cain Velasquez was pretty damn athletic as well. Maybe he didn't look it because he didn't look the part, but he was extremely athletic. I mean, the grinder in terms of wrestling, in terms of that guy could do cartwheels. He can do backflips like DC, but he could do it all. When it came to doing whatever it is we were doing for the little guy training, he could do it as well. And when you look at his fights against not just Cain, but other fighters, his movement, his mobility, he moves like a lightweight for a guy who's 250, 245, whatever it was he was. But he was extremely athletic. So I could see this happening. Now, I don't know how much they're going to have him talk. I mean, but he's got the energy. He's got a little bit of charisma. He's an extremely nice guy. Every time I've ever met him, every time I've ever talked to him, he's been a phenomenal person. I sat next to his family in the second fight. I believe it was the second fight. They fought in Houston, Cain and Zingano. Just Santos. When they fought in Houston, I sat right next to his family, and I was trying to limit how much I was showing my excitement because you don't want to be one of those people. But I mean, he's a phenomenal fighter. I know he's older, but he's an athletic person, so I could see him jumping into this. I don't know how much he's gonna talk. That's my boy right there, Jake Hager, though. That's my boy right there. That's my boy. Hager's a stud, man. He's just a great guy.
So Jake's on Chris Jericho's team. So it's it's interesting, like just the dynamic of it, just to kind of see them. And then I would have never thought I'd see Paige and Austin in there.
Well, it makes sense because that guy right there. Oh God, I forgot his name. He's the owner of American Top Team.
Oh, he is.
Yeah. So that would make sense. Oh God, okay. Dan Lambert.
Yeah.
Dan. So he's the owner of American Top Team. So he's the guy that that's a big reason why they're probably there. I would say that's the main reason why I would say probably. So that makes a lot of sense. They paired
Dos Santos up with a manager, just like his mouthpiece, and I think he could.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, that's what they used to do in the old WWF days. Yeah. Is that when guys couldn't talk well, they would just pair him up with a manager. Yeah. Let what was his name? Jimmy the Hitman, not Hitman Hart. Jimmy the Mouth, whatever the Mouth was. Little weasel guy used to run around like in a leopard type jacket. God, I can't remember his name. And then what was the other guy? The guy they had like the 80s haircut that was over his ears. Little fat guy. White guy.
Paul Beater?
This guy. What's this guy's name? Yeah, Jimmy Hart. I told you it was Jimmy Hart. So Jimmy Hart, and then who's the other guy? There was like a little fat. There was another little fat manager that used to run around with like an 80s haircut.
Is it Paul Beater, the Undertaker's manager?
No. He was a fat white guy with blonde hair. God, I can't remember his name. I remember Paul Bearer too. I remember him as well. It was WWF.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I think he was. God, who was he with? I'm trying to remember who he managed. He was like a short little. He looked like the Penguin, but remember the Penguin in the movie Batman? He looked like him. Danny DeVito's Penguin. He looked like him. Yeah. But he was blonde. He had like a blonde. He had the 80s haircut where like the hair would hang over his ears. Blonde fat manager.
Is any of that?
Manager.
Yeah.
WWF blonde fat manager. See if I can find him.
No, I don't think we're. I don't think it's.
He was real popular. He was around for a long time. Watch, our comment section is gonna blow up. Bro, I thought you said you were a fan of WWF.
When I was born. I was.
Man. Jeez. Just say blonde manager in WWF.
All right, blonde.
Try that one out.
Okay.
Blonde manager WWF.
Oh, him there?
There you. Let me see. Yeah, him. Who's this guy? The guy in the leather jacket up there. Yeah, that guy. Who's that?
Damn, why is his name not on there?
Gosh.
Everything says top 25 managers. It does everything except for his name. Let me click on that. Is this an article or is this going to be?
What was his name?
It's going to be at the top probably. It's going to be like.
Now you're killing me, bro.
I know.
I thought you knew this.
It's
shit.
killing me too. It's going to eat away at you all night though if you don't know, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna.
It's going to be number. He's going to be number 2 on here. Watch Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, there you go, Bobby Heenan. Bobby the Brain. That's right, the Brain.
How do you not know Bobby Brain Heenan?
Did you just ask me that? Did you really just ask me how do I not know it when it's you?
God.
You actually bought one of these WWE belts and you got hanging over your shoulder every once in a while while we film.
It's just up there.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to. What was the guy's name he managed? Ravishing Rick Rude. Then I think he had the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I think he managed him also. He managed a bunch of people.
Yeah, he managed a bunch of people. You know, these guys rotate. They rotate them through everybody.
The brain.
Anyway, AEW seems to have it happening right now. They've got all these MMA guys. Brock's just become a free agent on WWE, SmackDown, and Raw, so he can pick where he wants to go. Shayna Baszler's over at WWE, so they're all coming over because they don't have to take. And you look at back to Junior, you look at his record, right? In his last like six fights, or rather, 4 fights, he lost by TKO. So So he doesn't have to now go over. He doesn't have to go and take that type of damage now, which is good.
Yeah, but there's a lot of damage that comes with that type of wrestling, though.
Just like aches and pains, though.
No, it's not. It's not aches and pains, Dave. Come on, man. This is what happens. This is why fighters get frustrated with, and I'm sure WWE guys or pro wrestlers get frustrated with you. Like, oh, it's just aches and pains. You're the guy that has the chips that's falling on his chest, right? Saying, oh man, I would have got out of that submission. Yeah, and then I would have got up and then head kicked him. Like, you're not even that flexible. You're killing me, bro. You're killing me. No, but there's a lot of damage, man, that comes with these type of sports, and he's got to be careful. You're still taking headshots every once in a while. They still connect every once in a while. So I don't think he'll be doing any of the flips, any of that stuff. I know he's athletic, but I don't think he'll be doing any of that stuff. All right, let's talk about something else. Next.
Let's get back into MMA. So, Kat Zingano comes out.
Thank God. Dave just had to. Big John's not here, so Dave threw that AEW thing in there. If Big John was here, we would have shut that shit down.
Well, he'd have expressed like how proud he is of Junior having a venture past MMA.
That's blah, blah, blah. I think you're right. Big John's that kind of guy. He's one of those feel good guys, man.
All right, Kat Zingano comes out and says she should have been the fight for Cyborg, but she's okay with Sinead getting it. Her words being, I called it Chris Cyborg. She called me out. It makes sense, and clearly all of us want it, but the time just isn't right, and she's excited to see what Sinead Kavanagh can do. Yeah,
look, in any sport, doesn't matter what it is, timing is everything. So as much as we can sit here and say, like that fight, I believe is going to happen. I think it's going to probably happen next after this. After she fights Sinead, I think that fight's going to happen. I don't know what the circumstances are. Even if I did know, I probably wouldn't say anything just because it's just smart not to get involved in that type of situation. But I think the fight for sure is going to happen probably next after this. It would make sense. Also, Kat has also really gotten herself on track in terms of what she needs to do to win this fight against Cyborg. And she's also getting a little bit older, so the timing is important for her to make sure that she's peaking at the right time. As you get older, you need to make sure that your body is in the best shape it can be for that fight. At 39 years old, she needs to make sure that this fight gets to the ground. I really believe, and maybe I'm just being dumb and naive, but I think if she's able to get this fight to the ground in the first round and potentially early in the second, I think she could be a problem for Cyborg, because Cyborg is, sure, she's good on the ground, but she's not great. The other thing as well, she uses a lot of strength to get out of a lot of positions. Whereas Kat, she's got the top pressure. When she does get to the top, she can land some heavy shots. She can really start to make Cyborg second guess what she needs to do and start panicking every time that Kat gets in. The one thing that Cyborg does have, not just the strength, for somebody who punches with that amount of power and has that amount of output and fights at that type of speed, at that type of aggression, she sure seems to have pretty damn good cardio pushing into the 4th and 5th round. Kat will have not been in the 5th round, 4th and 5th round. I don't know if ever, but it's been a long time if she has. Can you scroll down to see?
5th round, she's not. Nope, never.
Yeah, she's never been in the 4th round or the 5th round. So as that fight goes on, you're going to start to see, Kat's never been there. And so the experience and the fight IQ, I think, of Cyborg will come through. So I think if Kat's going to have a chance, she's going to have to make sure that she dominates the first 3 rounds, and she's going to have to dominate in terms of getting takedowns. Because if she's able to get takedowns and really make Cyborg second guess on just rushing in with her blitz of punches and exchanges, I think that Kat could have a chance. Now, I'm not saying that she's going to win. I'm just saying that that's the way that I believe she's going to have to win. She's going to have to get a takedown early and hold her down, or make her work from the bottom for the full first round. If she's able to do that, and then get an early takedown on the second, and make her start fearing the fact that every time I get in on you, I can take you down, then that'll start changing the amount of output and the amount of power that Cyborg throws. Now, look, easier said than done. I don't know how many females have tried and have been unsuccessful. So that being said, we're going to see when it all comes down. But I can't wait to see that fight. But that fight will happen. Next.
Do you really think that Kat, be honest, like maybe you don't have to be honest, but do you really think that she can beat Cyborg?
Why would I lie to you? I don't like.
I mean, maybe you want to defend Bellator a little bit because
No. What am I defending? I think that I'm defending Kat. Right now, I'm saying that I'm not defending Bellator. I'm defending Kat. This is not a Bellator thing. It's not like
no. I don't mean it like that. I just mean
I don't care who wins.
You want to create some hype, right? So that's what I mean by you'll defend Bellator, right? Yeah,
no.
Hype,
what I'm saying is that she is being. I think she's going to be overlooked. But it's not as if it's not like she fought Megan Anderson. She lost. It was the eye injury. Okay, and then she fought Caitlin Vieira. Lost to a split decision. Scroll down. She beat Gabby Holloway. She beat Olivia Parker. She had a run. She lost to Juliana Pena, and she lost to Ronda Rousey. Let's be honest. She lost to Ronda Rousey in the peak of Ronda Rousey. She had beat Amanda Nunes right before that. She had beat Miesha Tate. She had beat Raquel Pennington. She had beat Hashi. Outside of that, you get into other smaller shows. So you get into those in that top show, go down a little more. Raquel Pennington, Miesha Tate, and Amanda Nunes. Now, don't get me wrong. Time has passed. Okay, then she lost to Ronda, lost to Juliana Pena, and then she lost to Caitlin Vieira. Look, then she beat Marlon Renault. But during that time, though, confidence is key. You just fought for the title against Ronda Rousey. Didn't go well. She lost in 14 seconds. She made a huge mistake. She went running across the cage, jumped, didn't get it. It was one of those things, just ill-advised. It's a 5-round fight. Take your time. And so I think that was okay, what are you doing? This is a 5-round fight. It's going to go a long time. And so in that fight, she should have been a little bit smarter about the whole situation. And I believe at that time though too, that Ronda's stand-up was not that good. And if I was going to put Ronda and her in terms of a stand-up fight and who potentially had the chance and opportunity to stop Ronda Rousey's takedowns in the judo and the clinch and get out of there and put her back to the fence, and it would have probably been her at the time. Then losing your title shot. Look, there's a lot of things and emotions that go through your mind after losing a title shot. Is shit, man. It took me that long to get there. Then I got there, and it wasn't what I thought because I lost. And now your confidence isn't what it was before when you were on your rise to the title shot. And you can look at a lot of fighters that after they've lost their title shot, they have just literally just gone downhill. They never made a comeback. They never were able to get back to the top. It's because mentally, just man, I put in all that work. And I'm going to give you an example. One of my close friends, John Fitch. You know what I mean? I know he got back to one at Bellator, but he got put into a tournament. And that tournament, he was able to get a title shot against, I think it was Roy McDonald. So in that tournament, that's how he got his title shot. But John, after he lost to GSP, it was it was a spiral effect. He had a win, he had a loss, he had a win, and then he lost. It was he just wasn't performing. The confidence wasn't what it was after. Because here's the other thing. After he lost, I believe after he lost to GSP, he went through this thing where he felt like he had to change things up. Dude, you got there by by doing what you were doing. Keep doing what you're doing and make some tweaks. What he did is he ended up going vegan. He ended up changing all this other stuff. And you could just see, he's oh, I feel great as a vegan. Yeah, but he had no strength. He was losing his strength in the clinch, in the power in his punches. He never really had a ton of power, but you could tell that it wasn't the same. He wasn't the same John Fitch that got him to the title. And I feel like the same thing also with Kat. After she lost her title shot, she went through that lack of confidence, just wasn't there. There was a lot of other things, I don't know when, she had some outside issues, some family issues, and I'm not going to bring them up here, but, she had some real serious family stuff. And if you guys don't know, then, you guys can look it up. But if you don't, there was a lot of emotional stuff going on, in her life. And so there was a lot of things she had to deal with. And so she's still here. She's still out there fighting. She's still grinding away, doing her thing. Shit, tip my hat. I mean, she's a stud. So I'm not saying, like I said, and when we started this conversation, when you tried to jab at me about the Bellator thing, it's not a Bellator thing. I don't care who wins. My job is not to care who wins. My job is to say how one person can win and how the other person can win and how it would happen if this person did this and this person did this. I think that's why I said I think she needs to get a takedown early in the first round. She needs to control Cyborg on the ground, make her work to get back to her feet, and then take her down again if she does get back up. And she needs to get a takedown early in the second, because so she doesn't run into exactly what happened with Mackenzie Dern tonight. She doesn't run into that, oh, I got a takedown, and then she didn't even try to get a takedown until like a minute left in the third round. Well, by then, Marina Rodriguez has already fully recovered from the ass whooping she took in the second round. And her cardio and conditioning is back because her confidence is growing because she's done all the output in the third round. She's the one that's controlled the tempo of the fight in the third round. And since she controlled the tempo of the fight, she was pushing Mackenzie Dern around and she was dictating what was going on. That's relaxation. That's like she's relaxed, going like, there's nothing you're going to do to me. I can see everything coming because I'm putting the pressure on you. Kat needs to take that. What Marina Rodriguez did in the third, she needs to do the same thing to Cyborg. But she can only do that if she's able to get a takedown early in the first and able to control that first round. Maybe get another takedown if she needs to in the first, and then also she needs to get one early in the second to let her know every time I touch you, I can take you down, and when I take you down, I can control you. That's what Kat needs to do if she's going to win this fight. And like I said, easier said than done. This is not easy. This stuff is not easy. So for me to say that, she's going to have her hands full. The other thing is that Kat, when she first came to Bellator, she was only walking around about 143. They're going to fight at 145. So she's been spending, I believe, when I had talked to her at one of the fighter meetings for her Gabby Holloway fight, Olivia Parker fight, she said, look, I'm trying to spend time putting some muscle back on. You know, because she had that time away from the sport for a while there. And she's just like, look, I want to spend some time putting some weight on. 2018 when she lost to Megan Anderson, then 2020 when she fought Gabby Holloway for Bellator. I mean, that's a long time. So she was, and then after that, she's like, okay, I got to get some weight on. I got to put some weight on. I get my strength back up. So she's been working, I think, on that, hopefully. And that should help a little bit. Next topic. Unless you got something else on that?
No.
Huh? You want to poke some more fun at me, buddy? John ain't here to save you, buddy. John ain't here to save you.
No, I just know how biased you are, so I just had to.
Sure.
Cameron Usman calls Colby Covington one of the top 15 welterweights of all time. Mm-hmm. Is he just trying to promote the fight, or is he being real? No,
he's being 100% real. I mean, look, I don't know if he's being real, but I'm saying the comment's legit, though. What people need to understand is that Kamaru Usman's a fucking really nice, really good person. And so even though he has beef with him, what does he care? He's already knocked him out. He's already finished him. He's the champ. And he's on a different level right now, I think, than everybody else in that division. There's going to come someone that's going to eventually knock him off, unless he decides to walk away. If this goes on another 2 or 3 years, like a John Jones, just be like, look, bro, you guys ain't on my level. I'm just going to just step away and go somewhere else. He may do that. Because I don't see anybody in that ranking system right now that could potentially beat him, because his wrestling is so damn good. And now that he's with Trevor Whitman, is tightening up his striking and utilizing that jab. That's something that's the most underutilized weapon in the game right now, is the jab. And he's got a damn good one. And so when I'm breaking down Kamaru Usman, I'm like, he had success against Colby when he didn't have very good stand-up. He's gotten way better since then. Colby is the same fighter. Colby, don't get me wrong, is a good, phenomenal wrestler. He needs to have a different game plan for this fight, though. He cannot stand with Kamaru Usman, and maybe he can out-wrestle him, but how tired does he get in out-wrestling him? I thought he should have wrestled him in the first fight, and that he would have had a little bit more success on the feet in those exchanges, and then kept wrestling him to slow him down. Usman, when he wrestles, he's not the same guy after the wrestling that he is on the feet. After a hard-fought wrestling segment, he's not the same guy. The speed is not there. The laboring is there a little bit more. The pop and the power are not the same that when you make him wrestle, and that goes for almost every fighter, if you make somebody wrestle like hard and then you put them out, like we do this drill in training, you'll wrestle against the wall, you'll do like takedown defense, you'll wrestle against the wall, and then when you turn the guy, you'll circle back and turn and face your mitt holder, and you'll pop mitts for a minute straight. Not just like 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, like that garbage. No, you're rocking the mitts hard. Boom, boom, 3-punch, 4-punch, 5-punch combinations. You're ripping them hard. That's the type of work that I'm sure that he's doing, but it's still hard. No matter how much you train for it, it's extremely hard for fighters to wrestle, use all your whole body, and then turn and then pop mitts with speed and power. And Usman, from what I've seen, he doesn't have the same pop after you make him wrestle. But he also has been focusing a lot more on his stand-up, so he may have developed that since his last fight and now. He's looked good. He's looked phenomenal. And I said this the last time after he beat Masvidal. I said, I'm done. I'm done saying that he's beatable. I don't think he's beatable anymore. I think he's the man. I think he's the guy. He's the guy that I think, is going to be the champion there in the UFC for a long time. I think he's going to be the champion there for a long, long time. And so I don't see who's going to beat him. I don't know who's going to beat him. I don't see who's going to beat him. I don't think Colby has the answer. Colby, if he's going to have a chance, he's going to have to wrestle him. He's going to have to wrestle him, then go to the dirty boxing, and then go back to the wrestling. He's going to have to do to him what Randy Couture used to do to every single one of his opponents. He's going to have to just grind on him and just work on him and just get into those clinches and just elbows and knees and get down on the legs. And if you don't get it, come back up to the body locks. And then eventually, if you do get him down, just stay heavy on him, make him work, make him move. That's how someone's going to have to beat him. And Colby, if I look at the rankings, can you pull up the 70-pound rankings? If we look at the rankings, I don't know if there's another guy in those rankings right now that has the type of wrestling to do that to him outside of Colby. So if Colby doesn't use his wrestling this time, it's like it's just a free game for him. It's free for him to get there. Like Gilbert Burns, I think can beat him if he's able to take him down. I don't know if he can take him down because the submission threat I think is real. But we saw Gilbert walked into that fight thinking he could stand with him because I believe he thought he could stand with him because they had trained together, and he probably had success against Usman in the stand-up. He also probably didn't want to waste a ton of energy trying to get that takedown, and so that's why he chose to stand. He spent probably more time trying to stand. But with Colby Covington, he needs to wrestle and then dirty box and then wrestle again and then dirty box and then keep doing that back and forth to the point where someone like Usman, who is explosive, who is a good wrestler, may tend to slow down. He's got that explosive, fast twitch muscle. And when people have explosive, fast twitch muscle, they tend to slow down if you make them wrestle a lot more. If you make them you grind on them and you make it a dirty, grimy fight, they will tend to slow down out in the open space. But Usman's got the reach, he's got the range, and what he's got, and I don't think people really take a look and see this. He's fucking accurate with his strikes. I mean, good heavens. I mean, his shot on Masvidal and then also his shot with Gilbert when he was touching Gilbert. Oh, I mean, it's on point, man. He is accurate with his strikes. He's got like I said, the most underutilized weapon in the game in that jab. It's probably one of the best jabs in the game, hands down. And all that's due to him working with Trevor Whitman, and doing a great job out there with those guys. So I'm done overlooking Usman. I think Usman gets the win, but I think Colby will have a chance. Like in this, when we were talking about the Cyborg and the Zingano thing. I feel like it's a very similar style of fight. Is that Colby's going to have to do that. He's going to have to get a takedown early. He's going to have to grimy him out. He's going to have to, if he does get back up, he's going to have to take him back down. He's going to have to make it that dirty, grimy fight. I don't know if he's got that in him. I don't know if he got it in him against somebody like Usman. Usman's he's just damn good. He's a fucking stud. We're going to see. Next.
All right. Next story. Actually, it's not so much a story. This was something that you got on Twitter that you promised to comment on. And so if you want me to read the tweet, or do you want to kind of...
Yeah, read the tweet out for me, bud.
So Riley Ford tweeted you, Josh, you don't think more analytical people have a role in this space? love hearing your perspective, like your outlook after the Tony fight, but people like Luke Thomas also provide really valuable insight and a very educated fan perspective. What's the point in fighting that?
No. Here's the thing, Riley Ford. I'm not fighting the fact that, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone, even like, they've watched enough. You know, like, let's say like Ariel, let's say Luke Thomas, let's say, other media sources. They've watched enough MMA. They know the sport. They know it, but they've never been in there. And do they train? Do they train at a high level to understand really what's going on? The pressure of what the fighter's feeling, the pressure of being on bottom, being smothered when you're exhausted, the pressure of having your back to the fence and somebody touching you, not putting a lot of effort out like a Nick Diaz style, just touching you and touching you. There's nothing you can do. You saw a little bit of that tonight with Rodriguez and Dern. Like, she was getting touched and like Dern had no answers. She was just turning flustered, like hands down, just turning right into punches. That's my point, is that I'm not denying that. Like, look, they're gonna write their comments, they're gonna write their stories, and they do a great job. Okay, and I know that there's been a lot of stuff going on with Ariel and all this other stuff, especially with Brendan and a little bit with myself the other day. I look at it as fun, man. Like, I could give two shits. Like, it's funny. I was just watching Dave Chappelle the other day. He's like, fuck Twitter. He's like, Twitter ain't real life. It's like, so that when people start getting into this, like, oh, you got burned, or you did this or this, and bro, when I get off Twitter, my life still goes on. Like, people take Twitter too seriously. So everything else goes on the same thing. These writers, okay? Guys like Luke, brilliant. Luke is probably somebody that, like, Luke is someone, when you listen to his breakdowns, he's got a lot of very good, insightful things. But Luke cannot tell you what the fighter is thinking in that moment. Luke cannot tell you what the fighter potentially could have done next to make that fight change. Luke, not just Luke, neither can Ariel. They cannot tell you those things. And because they don't have that fighter perspective. And I'm not knocking them. I mean, they chose a different lifestyle than a lot of us did, in terms of in this field. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to get at. But my point is that you can't say some of the journalists, some of the people, like MMA media, is a lot of the times they were fans first, and now all of a sudden decided to start writing stuff, and then they treat it as if like it's gold, and it's not. And that's like they don't understand the perspective of where a fighter is coming from when they miss weight. I think it's frustrating. I think with the Aspen Ladd situation, when she missed weight, it's frustrating. But the one thing that I've learned over the years is that females, just when their period comes, there's not a damn thing they can do about making the weight. They go from, okay, I'm only 1 pound over. All of a sudden now I'm feeling bloated and carrying water and holding water, and I'm like 2 pounds over. When I went to bed last night, I was a pound over. And so that's what makes the difference. Those are maybe perspectives I like that I've years and years of, talking with female fighters, training with female fighters, coaching female fighters, and having this happen. But those guys have never done that. They've never coached a female fighter. They've never had really one-on-one tight conversations with them about those type of situations. And I think that they both do a good job. Ariel does a good job. Ariel understands one thing. He knows how to get underneath people's skin to create a funny situation. He doesn't, like, when he gets off, because I was talking to DC when all this stuff the other night went down between Ariel and I. DC's texting me. He's like, bro, just leave him alone. He just really just gets on there, and he's like one of those guys. He can murder people on there, but Twitter's not real life. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's not a real place. And so when you get on there, like DC was having this conversation, he's like, he gets off and he's like, he goes back to his normal life. He doesn't take anything that people say offensive. He doesn't care. And when he does care, he brings it up. And when I had brought it up the other day with him about it all, is that he was talking about someone being like upset, or he was talking about people talking about him. And my comment was like, he really kind of is, he got triggered a little bit, because he has talked about it quite a bit as of lately, and that's not kind of like the Ariel that I know. And everyone's like, oh, he's sticking up for himself. I get it. I understand. But I'm going to give you guys a flip side on this situation. Okay. In that comment, in that last tweet that he had wrote a video. Okay. And this is kind of a reason why I kind of chimed in a little bit. was he had posted a video of him with Brendan doing an interview. And Brendan said something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm just like nervous, like to do the interview." Well, you have to remember at that time, Ariel was kind of like ordained by Dana in terms of like, hey, he's the guy that you're going to do the interview with after. And that's considered like to be a big thing. Now you have a fighter like Brendan. It doesn't matter any fighter. You guys got to put this in perspective. Let's just put Brendan out of it. Let's just say it was Conor McGregor. Use a name like Conor. Conor comes out and he's like, after his win, say one of his first wins in the UFC, after he comes out and he says, hey, he comes out and he does an interview with Ariel. He's like, yeah, it's like, okay, this is new. This is new to me. I'm a little nervous. And just remember, he just exhausted himself. Maybe it was a 3-round fight. Maybe it was a hard fought fight. He's exhausted. His mind's not really all there. And so when I saw the tweet the other day from Ariel, I was like thinking to myself, like, that's a little kind of like, if you guys have words back and forth, that's okay. I understand, like, whatever. I don't care. Like, first off, I don't care about your guys' drama, but I thought that was a little over the top when he pulled up the interview and put that little thing there. Because what happens is now you have a press guy, even if it's not Ariel, any other press guy. And that's the thing. People need to understand, I'm not talking about just Ariel. I'm talking about Ariel in this situation, but I'm talking about every other press guy. It could be any other person that does interviews. Okay. Let's just say, I'm going to throw Megan Levy out there. She does a phenomenal job, but let's say Megan was to use a clip from an interview to embarrass a fighter that they had interviewed from before. Now, any other fighter, right? If you guys have watched that clip and you guys turn, like, say a year down the road or when you're retired and that's being used against you in a moment of weakness in terms of like, you just got done fighting, you're exhausted, you come and you talk, it just seemed like a little unprofessional. I get the banter back and forth. I love the whole, hey, come at me, Hilwani, the nose, all of that stuff, everything. People call him the nose. I get it. That's all fun. I think like, you want to come at me, come get me. I got this for you. I thought that shit was entertaining as fuck. Okay. But when you take clips like that and you put them out, Ariel went to school to be a journalist. And that was like kind of one of those, like, all right, now you just kind of lowered your level to, if you said Brennan's doing that, then you lowered your level to wherever it is that he was at then, if that's what you're saying. And so that's kind of like, I think that comment. Now my comments about owning the show. And he's like, oh, well, you work for Bellator. Yeah, I do work for Bellator, but Ariel, we weren't talking about Bellator. We were talking about our podcast. You were talking about I think it's called the Helwani Hour. Is that what it's called? Or the MMA Hour? MMA Hour. Okay. I don't believe that you own that show. Like if you leave, the MMA Hour stays there. And if with us, we were talking about shows. We weren't talking about working for Bellator and you working for ESPN. We weren't talking about that. We were just talking about strictly the show. And that was it. That was the comment that I made in our last show with Big John and I. And that was it. I said, like, the only difference is that, yeah, when we're doing this show, I don't work for anyone. Dave works for me and John and I work together in terms of the two of us on this show. And that was all that was said. There was nothing bad about it. Ariel, I think, is one of the only guys that actually has a journalism degree, I believe, that covers MMA. I mean, I'm sure there's other guys now that I don't follow as much, but Ariel's one of the first guys in the sport that I think actually had a journalism degree and covered the sport itself. And so in terms of what he does a good job, man. He's good at what he does. That was what the conversation was about. So that's separate from what I was talking with him. He, like I said, he just seemed like he got a little upset with the Brendan thing, and it's carried on. And I thought it was funny, but when that clip of him doing the interview with Brennan got posted, now that just tells other fighters that later on down the road, you could potentially be, if you don't say something, if you dislike something he says and you comment on it, that he could potentially pull up old clips of you being interviewed by him and use it against you. That to me was unprofessional. The rest of it, I could care less. This is fun entertainment. It's Twitter, and Twitter's not real life. That's the thing. Twitter's not a real place. It's not real life. So I know I kind of went off on that as well, but to talk more about with Riley Ford, there is space in there for everyone because it says at the bottom, he says, what's the point in fighting that? like everyone's perspective is Luke Thomas is absolutely phenomenal. I love his show, Morning Combat, with him and Brian Campbell. They do a wonderful job. We started our podcast, I believe, or our shows around the same time. I think they started probably a couple months earlier than us. They're phenomenal, man. They do a great job. I love his perspective on things, but I think you said this in this comment. Love hearing your perspective, like your outlook after the Tony fight, but people like Luke Thomas also provide really valuable insight. That's absolutely true. They provide it though from a different perspective in terms of more of a fan perspective, more of a journalist perspective. And I'm not knocking them for that. I just don't like when it turns into, and I'm not saying Luke does this, when it turns into, he should have done that or that they know what the fighter could have, should have done, or it turns into that position. And I don't like that position coming from anyone, because I honestly, from the very beginning, I've always stood up for the fighter. I've always been that guy. I will be that guy. Sure, I work for Bellator in terms of, doing analyst work, but I still, to this day, I have conversations with some of the top brats at Bellator. I even still have conversations with some of the guys that work for the UFC, and they talk about certain fighters. I'm like, look, this fighter has this, and this potential. All I do is speak highly of every fighter when it comes to talking to guys like someone like a Scott Coker or a Rich Chow or a Mike Hogan or whoever else works for Bellator or anyone inside the UFC. I'm not going to name names because I don't want them to get fired. But you know what I mean? So anytime you talk to any of them in the UFC, it's just about making sure that they understand they have tons of talented fighters. And when you see the gold in someone, stick up for them. Make them feel like, make whoever you're talking to in that organization, make them feel like, look, if you guys want to groom this person can be really good. Give them a fight or two to get them on the right track that works tailor-made for them. If they don't grit it out and get a win, then I understand the reluctancy. But then some of them, they end up rising to the occasion. Majority of them end up rising to the occasion and having a phenomenal fight, and later on even having phenomenal careers. So hopefully, Riley Ford. Hopefully, I answered that. I was kind of a little bit all over the place on there, but we'll see.
Well,
I'm gonna catch some. I know. I'm gonna catch some flack on this whole thing. So,
no
Big John here. No Big John here to save me.
Yeah. You said something about saying nice things about fighters. Now they're going to go back and find every time you said something not nice about a fighter.
Oh, it's okay. But like I said, it's Twitter, man. It's not a real place.
So the only last thing, Josh, was the whole Ariel Helwani thing. I was just going to bring that up, but since you answered it, let's just jump into our outro for the show.
Our outro. How much time we have?
Up.
It's been an hour and 21.
We're at an hour 25 right now.
I talked that much already? Shit.
You really do talk that much.
Do you have any like one or two fan questions? Can you pull one or two up? Let's try to get this thing to an hour 30. Let's get an hour 30. Let's go an hour.
I may only have one from the other day that you didn't answer. Let's see.
Okay.
Would you?
You have one.
I think we answered that. I think yeah, we answered that one for sure. Did we talk about interim fights?
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah. A draw's a draw, buddy. Title stays. Title stays or it just stays vacant.
Did we talk about Tony and Conor?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Yeah, we might have gone through all these. There was a couple of questions I dropped but there's so many in here that it'd be hard to go through. Got it.
Yeah, we talked about that already. Yeah. All right. Look. Okay. Well, we tried. We tried to stretch this thing out a little bit more. Other than that, I want to just remind you guys all that it was a good night of fights. Make sure you guys watch the Wilder Fury. We will cover that. I don't know if I'm going to do it by myself, but Big John, like I said, likes to try and do things on his own with some outside help. He ended up cutting his internet cable that was underneath his driveway when he was digging up his driveway. And when that happened, no internet now for days. Let me explain to you this. He thought, or he forgot, I should say, that his house is run off of his internet. He's got no TV. He's got no other stuff that I don't want to say because then people may try to find out where he lives. And he's got he's got nothing. He's got no internet. He's got no Wi-Fi. He's got nothing. So I'm like, what are you gonna do? He's got nothing. So I said, John, start hiring people, professionals to do these jobs, please. You've broken your ribs trying to do the job. You've had fights with hornets. What else has he done? He's done something else too. There was another thing he did that he ended up getting hurt. Gosh, anyways, he's always getting hurt. What? What?
No, well, he got hit with a chainsaw as well as falling off the tree.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
He's
and then
6 broken ribs, man. When they got to the hospital, the doctor said it could be fatal. Like if something bad, he already had he had a punctured lung also too, a collapsed lung. Sorry, not a punctured lung, collapsed lung. All of those things. Come on, John. Anyways,
he's already too old. He's already at the height of where he's on the downside of life, you know. he's
You're so mean. You're ruthless, bro. He'll be 60 I think next year or this year. No, I think he'll be 60 next year. Yeah, I think it's next year. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, all right. Well, hey, if you guys can go to prowrestlingtees.com/weighing in, use the promo code and still pick up one of our shirts there. And you guys, there's a lot of cool shirts that are up there right now. So also hit the subscribe button in our YouTube channel on all of our audio platforms. Our main ones are iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Those are our main 3, but you can go to any other platforms as well. SoundCloud, Google Play, all of them. We are available there as well. Enjoy our audio platform. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. I said a lot. I talked a lot. It was fun. It's a shorter show. John normally kicks things back and forth off of us. So I'm hoping he is back by Monday or Tuesday, because we have a lot to do between now and then, and I'm pumped for that. So hopefully he is back by then. Now, next week, we will be in Arizona for the Bellator Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix. You've got Vadim Nemkov versus Julius Anglickis, who is stepping in because Anthony Rumble Johnson, who's a close friend of mine, has been removed. And those are some other reasons that he is releasing, I believe, on his Instagram. So if you follow him, it's Rumble Johnson, I believe is what it is, or it's at Rumble, I think, on Twitter. So you guys follow him. He's actually posting pictures now of some of the stuff that he's been going through and what he's been through. But he is back on track. He is starting to feel healthy, starting to feel good, starting to get all the things that, it's to get him back on track. So I'm happy for him, and it's good. But Julius Anglickis is very good. He's got good boxing. He's got good wrestling. He is going to be slower than Nemkov, but he does possess power. He's got good anti-wrestling as well, and he's not bad when he gets to the top position. But his boxing is on point. He's built like a brick shithouse, super muscular, cuts a lot of weight, and is a big, big guy for that weight class. Nemkov, very similar, but has more speed, a little bit more athletic, but puts things together very well. Nemkov cannot afford to be on bottom of Anglickis if he does get taken down. Nemkov needs to try to get this fight to the ground. I'm not saying that they can't stand. I think Nemkov could definitely outbox him and out-kickbox him, but it could be a very, very tough fight for Nemkov on the feet. He's going to have to mix it up from the wrestling to the stand-up and utilizing a lot of those inside kicks and outside kicks and mixing up the head kicks as well in there. Ryan Bader versus Corey Anderson. That's going to be a phenomenal fight. They've trained together before. Corey seems to insinuate that Ryan Bader knows who won those training sessions. And Ryan Bader says what basically Allen Iverson said. What are we talking about? We talking about practice? Come on, man. Get out of here. So when we're having that conversation, this could be one of those fights. I think Corey Anderson is phenomenal. He's gonna have his hands full with Ryan Bader, but I also look at too that Corey Anderson is someone. He's got the speed, he's got the kicks, he's got the wrestling, he's got good ground and pound. He's a big, tall, long, lanky fighter for that weight class at 205. And is a phenomenal fighter. So that fight mixed up with Ryan Bader, which we will be in Arizona, in Phoenix, which is Ryan Bader's hometown. He will have a huge crowd there with all of his family support and friend support. So that's going to be a good semifinals matchup next week in Arizona. So make sure you guys tune in. All right, guys. Well, hey. Yep.
And hey, and then just so you guys know, we are dropping a fan Q&A tomorrow, Monday. So just make sure you've got the bell clicked so that you get notified when we drop videos. And then obviously if you're on any audio platforms, you've got notifications on there because we're dropping a special fan question show on Monday. And then we'll still do a midweek show. So you guys are getting an extra video this week.
Yeah. No, I understand. That's going to be good. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully John's going to be part of it. Knucklehead decided to dig up his his internet wire. All right, buddy. Well, John, if you're listening, which I believe you will be tomorrow when this drops, we missed you tonight. I know the fans missed you. The last thing they want to do is just hear me rant for 1 hour and 29 minutes and 16 seconds. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. We will talk to you guys later. And like John says, we will see ya.